Welcome to the Lowland Catchup. It's myself, Rampant FM, and today I'm joined by Derek. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, how's you?
Yeah, pretty good. And Sean Spedden, how you doing?
Very good, thanks.
Yeah, we've got more questions, guys. Again, Jonathan Needham, who's quite supportive of the programme, he's asked, do you think that any Lowland League teams could eventually make it up to the leagues and even the Scottish Premiership at some point? He's said, obviously, it would take major investment and it would take years to do, but is there one that you feel are set up and have the potential to do it? Any thoughts on that question, guys?
I think first and foremost, the first part of that question, will teams make it into the higher league? I think a few of them are going to go up over the next few years. It's one that we obviously discussed a couple of pods back. Absolutely, we're going to see the likes of, you would think, Shire, maybe Bonnyrigg, and then the likes of Kelty, BSC, East Kilbride are always there and thereabouts. For getting to SPL level, I think it's a possibility, but it's a good bit down the line. You've got to imagine, there'll be the investment there, but you're going to have to see them building up the fan bases and perhaps start looking to some of the teams like your East Kilbrides and your Berwick, who perhaps will have the fan base just simply because of where they're located to help make it a viable option financially. But you look to the SPL now, and there's some teams in there that, they don't get the biggest turnouts and they're still able to survive, and they have done for a few years in the SPL. So for me, first and foremost, I definitely think we're going to see a bit of bridging of the gap between SPFL 2 and the Lowland League. As for getting in the SPL, I think anything's possible, but it'll be a good few years before we see anything like that, I think.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Teams that you're looking at in terms of going up over the next few years, I think for the Highland League it's only really Brora Rangers that proper stand out. I think the Lowland's probably stronger overall for teams looking to get moving up into League 2 and beyond. So you've got obviously Kelty, Bonnyrigg, I think it's a good shout, BSC, Spartans, East Kilbride. All these clubs are set up that they would be able to cope with the step up, I think, now. But I think, much like yourself, Sean, I think it would take a good few years to get up to the top level. Maybe an outside shout of getting up to Championship, maybe higher just now, who have just gone up, is Cove Rangers, because they've got a wee bit of money behind them as well. But in terms of the Lowland League sides, I think realistically the one that you would look at would be Kelty, because they've got a fan base, they've got a wee bit of money, they've got a great bit of momentum behind them as well, so you could see them pushing up the leagues if all goes well for them. But yeah, I think the more interesting slant that would be for sides coming down, are they going to be able to compete as time goes on? Because this league's getting more and more competitive and more dog-eat-dog to get out of it, and it's getting harder and harder for teams to get down and back up again.
What we need to remember is the majority of the members of the Lowland League clubs are quite it's fair to say they're in their infancy. BSC 2014, the old Edisport 2011, Colts are only formed in 1969. You're talking about Premiership level. Most of the clubs, apart from maybe Ross County, who are in Dingwall, obviously, most of them come from the major cities. The problem that I think Kelty would have, although we know that they're building an infrastructure there, they've got a fan base, as you guys say, but they would be competing with the likes of Dunfermline, Cowdenbeath. There's a lot of teams around them to try and make that move up to the Premiership. I think it would be difficult for any Lowland League team, but as I say, a lot of these teams have 100 years head start over them, so it's an interesting question. I think certainly, going up to the SPFL, there's got a lot of teams in with a shout, as you guys said, obviously BSC, Bonnyrigg, Kelty, Spartans, certainly East Kilbride and Shire as well. But in terms of the Premiership, I think it will be decades more than anything for a Lowland League team to get that far.
Having said that though, it's interesting that you mentioned Ross County, because them and Inverness Cali would be the kind of torchbearers for it. They went in for the Highland League into League 2 and look what they've done ever since. So it shows it can be done.
You see, when you do look at some of these sides as well, you could see them in a few years' time quite handedly being able to hold their own in maybe League 1 and make a push for Championship, and that's a real platform for them to build on. So although it's hard to imagine them getting into SPL right now, I think you look at a few of these teams, and especially your Cove and Edinburgh City, who are already they're already away doing that. You can kind of see them getting into that League 1 and competing in there, and then making the push for Championship, and that really is a foundation. So it's a really interesting point to think about.
Yeah, but as I mentioned, I think there's a lot of competition with a lot of the Lowland teams. As I mentioned, obviously Kelty, there's a lot of Fife teams around, Spartan, Civil Service, there's a lot of Edinburgh teams around as well. So, and I think a lot of the terms of like Spartans and Kelty, and they kind of rely on maybe Dunfermline being on an away day or Hearts being on an away day, so that they get their fans. So it's a good question, but I think it would to get up to the very top level, if there is a team that can do it. I think it's going to take a few decades. I think Jonathan's obviously a Gretna fan. We know what happened with the previous Gretna, with them going up the leagues. Obviously a bit different now because the Lowland League didn't exist during that time, but certainly the money factor was a huge factor in them going up the leagues, and that if there could be an investor in one of these teams that could take them right up, it is possible. But I think it's a different scenario now than it was previously. I think it'd be a lot harder to do because there is a few teams with investment, not only in the Lowland League and the Island League, but certainly in league football as well. Do you want to take us through Bonnyrigg Rose, as you've got a bit of an informer on the game?
Yeah, I need to give a shout, Connor, to be fair. So thanks very much for giving us your thoughts after the game, mate. But I'll run you through kind of the odds and ends of what happened in the actual fixture. First off, so Bonnyrigg Rose hosting Dalbeattie Star in the Lowland League. I know there's a mixture of League and Cup business this weekend. So the first half kind of petered out. From what the Twitter was saying, it was quite a windy first half, made it tough for both teams to get going. The biggest chance was a Scott Gray effort for the home side, hitting the woodwork, pretty much the only chance from what they were saying. But in the second half it started moving, basically. I think Rose must have came out and thought, right, we've not had a great half of things, let's get going. Just on the hour mark, just before the hour mark, ball into the box by Young. Johnny Brown showed great technique, slammed the ball in the net on the volley from 20 yards. So right at the edge of the box, and that sent them on their way, basically. And 10 minutes later, there was a Curry free kick into the box. This time it was Ewan Moyes meeting it with a bullet header to double the lead. 2 minutes after that, it all went wrong for Star, who'd held out quite well. Ball over the top looking for Hunter. Greg Thorburn saw red for denying a clear goal-scoring opportunity, basically. And they almost went down the road just with a 2-goal swing, but right at the death, McGay managed to get onto the end of a ball, cross it first time into Hunter, and he slotted home to make it 3-0 and sent Bonnyrigg a wee bit clear at the top in the very early going. So in terms of what Connor was saying, he basically said the thing to note is Dalbeattie actually played really well in terms of keeping Rose at bay. So he was giving credit to Dalbeattie rather than Rose not really turning it on in the first half. And then when the sending off happened, basically there was a few chances Rose had. They never really took them till the very end. But from what his opinion was in the game, he's saying like it's a great sign that they've been able to show bottle and grind out that result, and that's only going to get harder when things like injuries and suspensions kick in, because their squad isn't the biggest just now. So he's no convinced they're going to stay up the top of the league, but yeah, who knows. It's been a really promising start for Bonnyrigg, and I can't wait to see how they get on when they're facing all the teams up there and around about them, because it's just going to be such an interesting league this year, full stop.
But for me, it's another convincing win for Rose, and they couldn't be happier with the start they've made in the Lowland League. They've one of the only 2 unbeaten sides left, so brilliant to see from them guys. And yeah, good to see Dalbeattie getting, I know it's another defeat for them and it's a bit frustrating, but they obviously played a really good 45 minutes there to keep it 0-0 before half time. They've just got to sustain that over the 90 minutes moving forward, and another tough game for Dalbeattie as well is going to be a bit frustrating. And we keep talking about how these teams at the bottom, it's going to be how they can compete against each other. So yeah, definitely a bit frustrating, but they've still got all those games to look forward to, and the other teams around about the bottom of the league have still got to play the Bonnyriggs and the Kelties and the East Kilbrides
I probably faced a wee bit of criticism personally for not giving Bonnyrigg Rose the credit they deserve, sort of thing. But no, props to them. They've made a great start, but their big test will be the next three fixtures they have. Obviously, we'll get into the one on Friday a wee bit later on. But yeah, from what I heard, Robbie wasn't happy at half time, so it kind of spurred the boys on. Fantastic from them. To remain undefeated, obviously, as you guys mentioned, it's a great start. But yeah, there's bigger tests to come for Bonnyrigg, I think, and that's when we'll really see what they're made of. For Dalbeattie Star, the run of sort of hard games that they've had to open is coming into an end, so we'll obviously see what they're made of at the bottom end of the table as well.
To be honest, in terms of Dalbeattie, because I know we have kind of focused on Rose when we've run through that game, there's some real positives for them to take out of that. The fact that they frustrated them for their hour, and they've been given credit from like one of the Rose fans there that basically said it wasn't Rose playing badly, it was Dalbeattie doing well to stifle us. That's promising, because it would be very easy at the end of a bad run of games to lose the concentration a wee bit. So I'd expect Star to go and pick up some points now, to be honest, as they start facing the sides there or thereabouts, and they are part of the league, to be honest. But yeah, with that in mind, I'll run through the next game on the list as well. And this was BSC Glasgow at home to the Cali Braves. And I don't really know quite how this game happened, to be honest, because I think all of us were saying it could be any result. It wouldn't surprise us if Cali have had a really promising start, if they could go and get a result, or BSC, with the quality that the team's got, could kick on and get 3 points. Don't think anyone predicted 6-1, did we, guys? But yeah, it all started off, to be fair, there was mitigating circumstances I'll get into, but 10 minutes gone, Jamie McCormack ended a brilliant passing move, so right back on the overlap, got the ball, played it in to Tamor, who played a reverse pass to him, and he went and stroked it in calm as you like under the keeper at the near post. Half hour mark, and yeah, let's just say this was one of the more interesting things that happened. Memories of Cian Bowyer and Lee Bowyer and Cian Dyer back in the day. Jamie McCormack and Tamor having just combined for the first goal. Let's just say they had a wee bit of a disagreement, and there was fisticuffs on the goal. If they hadn't been split up, God knows where it would have gone. I suspect Jamie would have probably ended up on the better side of things, but both of them get booked, which it was quite sensible refereeing. Actually took the sting out of it, had a chat with the captain, got it sorted, and play kind of resumed after that. Just a couple of minutes later, BSC had the second goal, and it was all forgotten about. So Jamie Hamilton, who was really impressive, and he's been one of the big surprises, I think, so far this season, with a really nice finish after a cracking layoff from Tam Collins, who was, again, a standout performer for BSC. 10 minutes later, third goal on the board, Martin Green wins a flick on, which he was doing all day, onto Tamor. Pace got him through behind the defence, left the keeper on the ground by sidestepping him and finished it off into an empty net. So 3-0 at half time, and any hope Cali Braves had of coming back in were doused in about 10 minutes in the second half, where Jamie McCormack, again who was having a cracking game, squared it in for Martin Green. His initial shot was blocked by John Gay Lucas, but then one of the strangest goals you'll see, and I'm sure you've seen the highlights, he tried to then clear it, and it hit, Paulo's claiming it hit his six-pack. I think it's up for debate, but anyway, went off Paulo into the net, and he went off celebrating, so it's his goal. A few minutes later, another one, corner came in for Declan Hughes, Ross McMillan rose up, and unmarked, you just can't leave him unmarked, met it with a powerful header, keeper had no chance. Braves did get a goal. With 20 minutes left, they played much better in the second half. Like, the reason that they struggled so much in the first half wasn't just from kind of absences, it was the press. They did not like getting pressed, and they couldn't string 3 passes together, and balls were just getting put wayward. But there was a mix-up at the back where basically Ross McMillan tried to knee the ball back to the keeper and didn't get enough on it. McNeil kind of stepped in, did what he does best, put the ball in the bottom corner, 5-1, and Ross McMillan obviously was a bit upset with that, because 5 minutes later he got another goal for himself. Another Declan Hughes ball in. Again, he was not properly marked, so it was a strange one, but it was carbon copy, powered a header in 6-1. The game petered out from there, and it was really, really impressive from BSC. But the caveat we need to give is in the warm-up that Cali lost one of their centre-backs. So they were playing El Zubadi as a trialist, and it was pretty clear that he's not fit and he's not had any minutes at all. He was completely lost for all that first half and subbed off at half-time. He just couldn't cope with Tam Collins or Tam Orr. He just wasn't fit, basically. So even after the change was made in the second half, they were relying on Lucas to play centre half, and he's not a centre half. He's a wing back. So the fact they were weak in defence, ultimately BSC took advantage, but that's a big caveat and part of the explanation as to why they went from such a decent performance against Kelty to what happened yesterday at the end of the drill. Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's not the first time we saw a team fall victim to squad depth, and we've seen a few teams address it. And we focused a lot on the teams that had addressed the squad depth over pre-season, but we didn't really speak about the squads that were looking a little bit thin. And Cali Braves were one of those sides, and they've been found out a little bit in this game. On the flip side though, for BSC Glasgow, they had a bit of a ropey start. It was 4 points in their first 3 games, and it was unsure how it was all going to go this season. But you know what, they're right back to what they were doing last year, and they were acting like the second best team in the league at points. To be honest, they were one of the best teams in the league when they had that run of wins. And yeah, it's a really strong result, and it's not just one person involved. The whole team seems to have got involved in this one, and a brilliant performance by BSC Glasgow. And Cali Braves, they need to go away back to the drawing board, I think, and have a think about how they're going to address this the squad depth for the rest of the season, because it's still early days, and one loss, 1 defeat isn't going to define their season. They've got to go and bounce back. What did you think, Chris?
Yeah, fantastic win for BSC. Alan Reid obviously got injured recently, and he's been a really decent defender. He's a leader for Caledonian Braves, obviously brought in this season, so he would have been a big loss at the back. But you can't take anything away from BSC. We've gone on about the Braves, how impressed we are. But yeah, it's like any team in the league. If you've got injuries or suspensions or whatever the case may be, they sometimes, if they're up against a good team, they do. We can see these results, and I think we saw it. By the end of the day, I mean, yeah, BSC. I saw Paolo making a bit of a comment on Twitter, like, yeah, we're going to be up there if we play like that, and quite rightly so. It's a fantastic result. But yeah, it's really how Caledonian Braves and teams that were defeated, we have to see how they bounce back. And obviously BSC were defeated by Colts a few weeks ago, and I think they've bounced back pretty well. It's how other teams at that level who want to be at the top need to. We'll see how they bounce back, basically, because I think early doors we've seen a lot of the top teams take points each other, and I think it could be the case throughout the season, is what I said to Cali Braves as well. I think that's the case. We do have an interview with Caledonian Braves gaffer Ricky Waddle on the game.
So Gaff, that was a disappointing defeat to the BSC. How would you analyse that match?
I don't think there's much. Well, there's plenty to analyse over the course of the next few days, but initially it's sore. The boys are in there hurting really bad, as you would imagine. But also at the same time, I don't want to over-analyse it as well. We had a very, very good result and performance against East Kilbride. In the day, to be honest with you, some of the goals were a bit freakish in nature, in my opinion. We lost Jack in the warm-up, 5 minutes before the warm-up. Referee didn't let us use that as we had to use that as a sub. I'm not looking for excuses, but these things can have an effect on the game. And I think it did a chance to change system after working on it on Thursday for a good hour. So we're disappointed, but I think there's a determination for it not to happen again. It's not good enough if you look at the goals in isolation. Some of the goals are terrible to lose. and we need to pick ourselves up pretty quickly from that. And similar to the Celtic game, we weren't good enough. We weren't good enough that day, and hats off to BSC, because they worked us hard. They ratted us hard, they worked really hard, and they stopped their good players playing. But we've got to be better than that. We've got to be more tidy in possession. We've got to want the ball. We've got to have a desire and hunger to go and get onto the ball, and manage the game situation as well. If they've squeezed right up on us, the space is in behind them, so go and recognise that. So go and turn them. But all in all, we get beat with a better team, so we've got to take that collectively, not just 18 players, coaching staff's got to take that on board as well, and move on pretty swiftly.
Just to maybe pick up on a positive from the game, I thought Ben Daly, when he came on, played really well. He got his first goal for the first team as well, and John Guthrie as well when he came on. Is it good that when things aren't going our way, we've got players that are hungry to come on and try to do their best for the team?
I think at that stage there's an element of no pressure coming on, and they just go out and that there's nothing to lose at that particular point. But Ben showed that he had an appetite and desire to run in behind them, cause our centre backs trouble. John, first thing he did was made a tackle, and the whole team we struggled to get close to BSC out of possession the day to go and make a tackle. So the guys came on and showed a bit of spark, but just not enough to ignite something in the whole group. Cheers.
We obviously want to thank Kelly Braves for that, as well as Ricky Waddle. We'll move on to Cumbernauld Colts versus Celtic Hearts at Broadwood Stadium. It started off really well. I think Colts were, as I mentioned yesterday, I think they were really hungry for this. They looked like really good pressing. I'm a big fan of that sort of football. Every time Celtic had the ball, there was 2 or 3 Colts guys around them, just really limiting their space, and I think it did put a lot of pressure. I think Celtic were a wee bit flat in the first half, in my opinion. They were a wee bit unlucky in certain regards, but I think funny enough, you mentioned it last week, Derek, but I think they were a wee bit leggy from Tuesday, having played Annan. Certainly, playing the majority of the game with 10 men probably didn't help, but it's not the Celtic that I've certainly been used to seeing every week. Thomas Bragg, on loan from Dunfermline, started, 17-year-old. There was a few sort of tackles from Bembo, who's obviously a bit of a battler in midfield. I think he was lucky to stay on the park throughout the game, not going to lie. There was a couple of penalty shouts, certainly on the half-hour mark. It looked like Nathan Austin had his shirt pulled, and there was an incident with Cammy Russell where Celtic were given a free kick, and it did look inside the box, unfortunately to say, but it is what it is. Thomas Riley's free kick hit the bar, but it was a goal for Colts 5 minutes before half time. Marty Wright with the finish, done really well, sort of just turned Thomas Bragg, and it was just a really classy goal. He's obviously going to be among the top scorers if he keeps going like this. He's been fantastic. A couple of minutes later, it was another chance for Celtic. Scott Linton, free kick hits the bar. The ball comes back in to Nathan Austin, whose head's just wide, but it was 1-0 Cumbernauld Colts at half time. Not long into the second half, finally Bembo is booked after pushing McCurdy to the ground and kicking the ball away. I think he was, as I mentioned, I think he was lucky because he had a few tackles, and there was sort of ironic cheers from the Celtic faithful. I think he was very lucky not to be sent off, to be honest, during the game, because he did have a few incidents. Celtic got a penalty after Cammy Russell was taken out. Scott Linton, it was saved by Jonathan Greer. He was a wee bit off his line, but when looking at the highlights, I think it's the way he ran out to it. I think he did have one of his feet on the line, but it's the way he just sort of ran towards the ball when he was saving it. It was a quality save, and he had a couple of really close range saves after the penalty. He was fantastic, Jonathan Greer. I think he might be up there for one of the top keepers in the league this season. I think that's been a class signing from what I've seen. It was another few chances for the Colts, 15 minutes to go. It was a good run by Lewis Bonner. He takes it into the box and shoot, but Ben McKenzie gets down well to save. Another chance for Celtic a few minutes later. It was Scott Linton. He had a shot, it hits the bar again. Third time for Celtic hitting the bar. They had a corner in the 82nd minute. Cammy Russell, he almost scored from it, but Jonathan Greer kind of just palmed it away, if you will. Celtic did get a goal a minute later. After a spell of pressure, Celtic finally got the equaliser thanks to Nathan Austin. They were pressing for the winner, and Cumbernauld Colts, they'd done this really well. As I said, I think Lewis Bonner had Stephen O'Neill as well were really good at just countering. They were right through. Stephen O'Neill gets through to give Cumbernauld the lead and the win. Yeah, as I mentioned, I think Cumbernauld Colts completely deserved their win. I wouldn't be too worried about Kelty having played that Annan game, but they certainly weren't the team that I've been hyping up over the last few weeks, because we talked about sometimes they're not out second gear and all these sort of things. I just think they were a bit flat, a wee bit better in the second half, but you can probably say, well, okay, they were a wee bit unlucky with some of the penalty shouts and they hit the bar 3 times, but that's football. I think overall they were a wee bit off today, and Cumbernauld Colts, very impressed by them and a few of the guys as well, especially like Fraser Team as well. He played really well, Lewis Bonner. There was an incident at the end where I think Bembo might have wound up Thomas Riley. You could probably say Thomas Riley was lucky not to get sent off towards the end too, but it is what it is. We do have an interview with Barry Ferguson on the lost Cumbernauld Colts.
Barry, it's not the result we came here for. What were your thoughts on the game today?
Cumbernauld deserved to win. Alarming first half performance, a mile off it. I got a bit of reaction in the second half, but still not good enough. So, listen, I've got no complaints. Cumbernauld deserved to win the game.
Is that a case of the game on Tuesday catching up today, or just
no excuse about that? No excuse about they get looked after by the club. They get the right recovery stuff done to them. They get the right drinks put into them. So there's no any excuses about we had a game on Tuesday. They're fit enough. I just thought our tempo was way off it. And listen, I've got no complaints about the result. Alright, people are going to say we hit the bar 3 or 4 times as well, but might have scraped away with a point, but we didn't, and they went up the park and got the goal, so I've got no complaints regarding the outcome.
Yeah, obviously it was only like getting a point with the late goal there, and the guys worked so hard to get that. It's the nature of the way, how quickly they were able to break down the park for the winner.
No, we had enough men behind the ball. They just were quicker at the ball, and they were quicker at the ball most of the game, which is worrying for me. But listen, I need to go back and have a long think over the weekend and get them in on Tuesday and sort out what went wrong, because that's no my team out there. It wasn't the way that I've worked with them all pre-season. But listen, it's a major dent. But listen, you can't sit in there and feel sorry for yourself. So you got to get going. Listen, I've had a lot of setbacks in my life and my career, and I say that to them there. So they need to either buckle down and work even harder, or if they don't, well, we're in trouble. But disappointed, just as I said, with nothing about us tempo wise either. It was very, very flat. So listen, I'll go away and I'll have a chat with the staff and that, and then we'll take it for Tuesday when the boys come back in.
Obviously want to thank Mark McCabe and Barry Ferguson for that interview. What are your guys' thoughts on that one?
It's a bit of a frustrating result, obviously, for Kelty, because they did have a bit of momentum. A bit frustrating to see. Last season they obviously struggled when they were on the bigger pitches, whether it was at Feekick Stadium, Broadwood. I think there was a bit of an expectation with the calibre of players that they've brought in this year that it might not have been as much of an issue, but perhaps, you know, it looks like they had a bit of bad luck there as well, and perhaps it's just the bigger pitches. They don't have the luck that you kind of need in these games. But that's not to take anything away from Colts. I don't think we had the discussion on the podcast. I think it was just between us where, you know, we were saying that, you know, Colts, you couldn't write them off here. I think even yourself, Derek, had picked this one as a draw because, you know, Broadwood and Colts early on in the season, not an easy place to go, so shouldn't come as a huge shock. This is kind of, for me, this is a game I've been looking forward to seeing Kelty in, not because they've lost, but to see what the reaction is. We spoke about it a couple of games ago, and it's every team's going to drop points in this league, even though there's maybe a bit of divide between top and bottom. At the top and at the bottom, inclusive. It's really close, and we're going to see points taken everywhere, and it's going to be about how the teams can bounce back off that. How much did the 10 men against Annan play a part? Oh, you've got to imagine that there was a wee bit of tired legs there, but you can't make excuses. You can't put it down to luck. Colts did what they needed to do, and when they had the chances, they took them, and they've walked away with 3 points, and they're looking really, really good. Probably better than they did at this point last season.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway I had for this was not so much on the Celtic side, because as he says, Sean, we talked about this before, that there might have been a wee bit of tired legs at play going into this game, but I'm very, very impressed with the way Cumbernauld have started this season, and this, I think, is a real marker. So now that they've beaten BSC and have beaten Celtic, and while there were circumstances at both sides, I'd played midweek, it doesn't matter, they've taken advantage, and you can only beat what's in front of you. So what the big question now is going to be is whether Colts are here to stay and they're in this title race this year. I think, because not one of us put them in the title picture in the pre-season, so it'd be really interesting and really exciting to see their name suddenly get thrown into an already really competitive mix. And I think we need to give credit to them, because whatever they're doing is working great in the early doors, and I hope they can keep it going. It's funny you mentioned Arnie Bembo quite a few times there as well, Chris. He's exactly that kind of midfielder, the combative kind of guy who he can really drive a team on as well. I think he's a really underrated player, to be honest. When he's on his day, he's so strong, and he's a great driving force, and also a bit of a wind-up merchant, I should say, as well. But he's a cracking player, and obviously Marty seems to be a cracking signing for them as well. So in terms of Celtic, I don't think you'd be too worried as a Celtic fan. They were going to lose a game at some point. Probably is a good thing it's come now to stop any overconfidence seeping in. Yeah, it all comes down to seeing what the reaction's going to be like in the next fixtures, I think. But Colts have proven they're here to stay, and they're ready to get involved, and hopefully they've got the longevity to do it this time.
Yeah, I'm not going to give them the dark horse tag like I did, because as soon as I'd done that last season, they started losing. So, yeah, as I mentioned, they really impressed me. I was a big fan of how they played. They were fantastic. I think the whole team, it was just a really good team performance. Certainly there was a few guys, as I mentioned, the likes of Lewis Bonner. He had loads of chances, and I think, in fairness to Kelly, I think that was probably Ben McKenzie's best game, the goalkeeper. He had pulled off a lot of decent saves right at the back as well, so that shows how much pressure Kelty were under. Had it been a draw, I think you'd probably say fair enough, but yeah, Colts completely deserving of their victory. They were just really good on the break, and they certainly had enough chances to win the game as they shown. So
one other thing, just before we move on, Chris, you mentioned that Colts were doing a kind of high press, and BSC were doing a high press as well at the weekend. Do you think that's something we're going to see more of?
I hope so. As I said to you, Derek, I'm a big fan of pressing football, and it's really good to see that sort of football at this level. One thing I criticised Shire for, a few weeks ago now, but I didn't think they were pressing Edinburgh Uni enough. I mentioned it to you guys, and I think they won 4-0 if I remember correctly. I would like to see the likes of Shire and some other teams do that a wee bit more, because sometimes I think it can be standoff against the bigger teams. But one thing about the Colts, though, I think we all know this, they seem to play against the top teams. It's where they fail, or certainly where they failed last season, was when they came up against some of the bottom sides. That's when they sort of let the ball drop, if you will. Got a big game on Friday night, but after that we'll really see how it goes for them, and I'm not going to give them the dark horse tag, obviously. I don't want to. I do like the Colts, but I'm not going to. We'll see in a few games, as I mentioned. The same with Bonnyrigg. We'll see how it goes. So into the Football Nation Qualifying Cup. Civil Service Strollers versus Dunnipace. Christy Gillis Park, they won 6-0. Josh Morris opened the scoring early on for Civil, with Muirhead quickly making it 2-0. Jack Downey made it 3 before half-time from the penalty spot, so it was 3-0 Civil Service Strollers at half-time. Not long into the second half, it was 4-0 as Alou Faye chipped the Dunnipace keeper, and on the 75th minute mark it was 5-0 as Kyle Fee fires it into the roof of the net from a free kick. What a free kick it was. Early goal of the season, a lot of people are saying, and in fairness to Kyle, he's been getting a wee bit of sort of banter pelters. We're not used to seeing Kyle Fee do that sort of thing. It was quite amazing. For the sixth goal, it was Jack Downey got his second, and Civil was 6 with a diving header before the end. I think Churchy was on Twitter. I'm assuming it was him. There was a bit of, obviously, banter here on Civil's Twitter again, so I can only assume it was Churchy. Massive win for Civil Service Strollers. We kind of knew they would probably bounce back from the defeat against Kelty. But yeah, that Kyle Fee free kick, I was more than chuffed for him, because during the course of this programme we've obviously given him a few I wouldn't say slaggings, but friendly banter, if you will, with his back passes and whatnot, and some of his passing. I noticed Churchy shared one during the game where he just passed it straight to the Dunnyface player, so yeah, well done Civil, through to the next round. Brilliant result for them.
I mean, my question here would be, was he wearing his own boots or somebody else's? Because that seems to be the Civil way just now, but if he's maybe got Churchy's boots on, maybe that's where the free kick went for. But no, absolute belter of a strike, wasn't it? If anyone's not seen it, it's on Civil Service Twitter. Go and see it, because I don't think he'll ever score a better goal, to be honest. And the thing I loved most about it was the fact that he didn't really know how to celebrate, so he just ran back. just went back to defend again, great. Loved it. But impressive result for Civil. It was a game we expected them to go and win, and they've done it in convincing fashion against the side for East of Scotland, Dunnypace. So I don't really have too much to add. They've done exactly what was expected of them, and probably a wee bit more so. So fair play to the boys, and we'll see how they do in the next round.
No, all I can do is echo what you've both said. These fixtures, they can always throw up a surprise or two, so it was never a given. But Civil have gone out and they've done exactly what they needed to do, and they've won quite comfortably and deserve a place in the next round. So well done to the boys at Civil.
Yeah, just on the boot swapping, guys, there was actually a note on the boot swapping. Sean Turnbull was wearing Cammy Muirhead's boots during the game, so if they keep doing that, they'll keep getting wins. I think it must be a musical boots or something like that.
It's one of the more interesting good luck charms I've heard.
Next up in the Football Nations Qualifying Cup, we had Edinburgh University versus Vale Leithen, and a little bit of a behind the scenes for the listeners. It won't come as a surprise, but Chris does a really good write up every single week for these. Goes and delves into the different Twitter accounts and the websites to get a bit of information. And I've got the read through for this one, and I've got a nice one line. But thankfully, I was at the game, so I think I've saved us all a bit of drama here trying to summarise this game, because there's not a lot out there. But yeah, I was quite fortunate to get along to the game. Yeah, I wanted to get a look at both these sides, because I think they're a lot closer than the previous week sort of made it look, with the 3-1 win in the league. And yeah, to be honest, in the first half, both sides were able to create a good few chances, but what was missing was the finishing. Edinburgh Uni did look the stronger side in the first half, and definitely would have been the happier of the two going in at half time. However, it was Vale Leithen around about the half hour mark that managed to hit the crossbar and then the post in a winner, and it was the Edinburgh Uni keeper had left it, obviously assuming the ball was going out or onto the top of the net. So very fortunate Edinburgh Uni not to have gone in a goal down at half time. But like I say, it was 0-0, a lot of decent play, but that finishing touch was missing in the first half. In the second half, it started off quite slow, but as the game built up a little bit of momentum, it was actually Vale that had the better of the chances, coming close on a couple of occasions. About 60 minutes in, it was we saw Gio Rossi come on, got speaking to a few of the guys from Vale Leithen, and he's picked up a bit of a knock, so he started on the bench, but he did come into midfield around about the hour mark. Edinburgh defence, I think they played really well, and they were able to keep Lyle Smith and Liam Island from getting the chances. Around about the 10 minutes from time, there was a little bit of a scuffle in the, not a physical scuffle, just with the ball in the Edinburgh University boxing. Vale were quite unlucky not to have been able to just tap it into their own net, and in the 92nd minute it was actually Edinburgh Uni that were able to nick the winner, and it was Dean Maskery that was able to put the ball into the back of the net and see Edinburgh Uni through to the second round. Yeah, it was a lot closer game than the previous week. For what I understand, Vale put out a much stronger side this week, but on the road they unfortunately weren't able to do the business, and to be honest I thought I was going to be there for extra time and potentially even penalties, so I was quite surprised when they did steal that 92nd winner. Do you know what, Edinburgh Uni will be happy they picked up the win, but Vale can't be overly disappointed because they did create chances, and they definitely had the better of the two sides in the second half, and could quite easily have gone on and got the win as well. So brilliant game to be at, and brilliant cakes. I just want to confirm that for anybody who, because it's been a bit quiet, but yeah, I had a couple here. If you're from Edinburgh and you've not been down to watch an Edinburgh Uni home game, go down, because it was a good bit of football and brilliant half-time selection. What did you two make of the game from, I suppose, what you've seen so far?
It's interesting you mentioned Rossi. Obviously he's the captain, the sort of Vale leaving side. They've got a lot, obviously, youngsters in from Spartans, and then I think they've got one of the boys on loan as well. So another good result for Edinburgh Uni. They keep surprising me. It's interesting how you mentioned, obviously, them going forward. That's one sort of criticism I had of them when I saw them against Shire. Obviously I didn't think their final third play was overly great. But then again, last week they did beat Vale leaving 3-1, so it's one thing I think Dorian will be looking at, because their defence seems to be fine from what I've seen, apart from that one half of football against Caledonian Braves. It seems quite solid, but I think the way they're going to struggle is maybe scoring goals, certainly from what I've seen so far. But yeah, a good cup win, especially against a fellow Lowland League team.
To be honest, I'm interested that, from what Sean was saying there, that it was a lot closer, because Vale kind of are flattered to deceive a wee bit thus far, but it seems like it was a really good contest. You've got to give major props to Dorian Agunro in there, because that's not even his full squad yet, and he's done great stuff with them early doors. So it's like him and Chris have got really tough jobs at Edinburgh and Stirling Unis respectively, getting things moving early doors before the new intake, and other kind of students coming back. But I think I said in the preview podcast that I fancied Edinburgh Uni to struggle this year and potentially get relegated. I'm having to reassess that, because the more the weeks go by, they're finding a way to get results, and it's looking really promising for them. The positive for Vale is, in Ando's side of things, they've lessened the gap there. They've given it a right good go, and they could easily win that game themselves. So it's something to build on, and there's a lot of changes in that squad, and it will need a bit of time to get going. But yeah, there's positives coming out of it for both, but ultimately Uni's the team that have moved on.
Next up in the Football Nations qualifying cup, we had Berwick Rangers. They welcomed the Spartans. It was Spartans were the reigning Football Nation qualifying cup holders after winning it last season. With a bit of injury and unavailability, it was the visitors who were once again forced into reshuffling their side that won the last time out at Gala. The opening quarter of the hour saw both sides struggling with the wind down at Berwick, made the passing game a bit challenging, something I'm sure we saw in a few of the games. But it was Berwick Rangers that took the lead after 24 minutes, with Lewis Barr on hand to tap home into the back of the net following a sweeping move from defence to attack. I was quite fortunate, covering these games. We don't always get to see them. Quite fortunate that at the time of recording, about an hour beforehand, Berwick got the highlights up on their YouTube side, so I got to have a wee look, and it was a really good goal, to be honest, from Berwick. The Lewis Barr was able to sneak in at the back and head home. Few calls for offside from Spartans, but nothing was given, and to be honest, I'm not entirely sure it would have been offside. I think it was a little bit of wishful thinking, but do you know what, if you're at the game, let us know what you think, of course. After 64 minutes, there was a mix-up at the heart of the Spartans' defence. It saw the ball break to Darryl Healy, who had the freedom to guide home into the empty net. So Really, really well played. Just bit of drive there from Healy. Was able to get the header. He basically got to the ball before the keeper and was able to play it into the empty net. 10 minutes left on the clock, and it was Spartans that were losing grip of that trophy altogether, and they were reduced to 10 men after Hoskins saw a red for basically a last man challenge. Watching the highlights there, you could tell that Spartans had shuffled things about. They didn't have a lot of their usual guys in there, and they didn't have that same sort of structure and discipline that's kind of Spartan's signature, is how they play and they keep their position, they keep the line, and they're able to play quite high up the field because of it. And yeah, they were just missing that today, and Berwick Rangers were able to take advantage. For Berwick side, they thinks it's their first competitive win since March, and it's it's one I think it's much needed. It was against perhaps a weakened opposition, but it was against Spartans, who are a very good Lowland League side. There's probably an element with Berwick that they wished this one was perhaps in the league and they could have picked up the 3 points there, but this is a cup that they'll want to do well in, and they're through to the second round after a comfortable win, and that Spartans reign over quite quickly as defending champs of this trophy.
Yeah, I think they'll be delighted, absolutely delighted to get that kind of monkey off the back there, and especially against the reigning champs. Spartans wouldn't have been taking this competition for granted. They would have wanted to win it again, but as you said, there's a few changes there. I just wonder if it's a wee bit early to be getting concerned this season about Spartans in terms of, are they going to drop off a wee bit and not be in that title race, because they've not been their usual selves up to this point. And I don't know, they're kind of flattering to deceive just now, so we'll see kind of how that develops. It probably is too early to say that right enough, but cracking result for Berwick. It doesn't matter what competition has came in, they've got a win. They'll now look to build up momentum from that, getting back to league business and getting their first 3 points on the board. But we need to say well done to them, I think, rather than kind of being too harsh on Spartans at this point. It also seems like they didn't really get the rub of the green, the away side in this game, so just one of those days for them. And I guess we'll stick to the positives and saying well done to the wee Rangers.
Yeah, the second goal was just a wee bit of a lack of communication between the defender and the goalkeeper, I think. Dean Hoskins obviously been suspended. I'm assuming because it's in the Football Nations it will be the next league gamer at the weekend, so he's going to be a big loss for Spartans. But Berwick, you can't take anything away. I'm sure the fans of Berwick will be feeling a lot better about things, having picked up that win, their first since March, as you mentioned, Sean.
From here, we'll get into the East Kilbride game. So East House's Lily versus East Kilbride at Newbattle, and it was quite an interesting tie, this one. We started off with 23 seconds on the clock. Peyton straight on the ball, laid it into Ryan Cinnamon, and he slotted it home, and Kilby must have thought it was going to be quite an easy day at the office at that point. Didn't turn out that way though, because 10 minutes in, Lily Miners' welfare struck back, long free kick flicked on by the striker over the keeper into the back of the net, but only took Kilby 2 more minutes to get back in front, so 12 minutes on the clock. Sean Winter whipping the ball in for the right, not the best clearance for the defence, fell again to Cinnamon, and he had his second goal of the game. Just no time in the clock at all, but somewhat surprisingly, that was the end of the scoring in the first half. And straight out of half time, Lily got a penalty, so they squared it up with 47 gone. You were maybe beginning to look at this one as a potential banana skin at that point, because Kilby had made quite a few changes, but they did what they do best, and screwed the nut eventually. 57 minutes gone, Malcolm leading by example, chasing the ball down the line, playing it into Carmichael, slotted it through to Peyton, and he made no mistake from about 7-8 yards out. And just a minute later, straight for the kick-off, Lily put the ball back to the keeper, who tried to take the ball on his left foot, but Peyton stole in, took the ball, rolled it into an empty net, and it was 4-2 out of nowhere. And that basically killed the tie. There were another couple of goals in the last 10 minutes, so 83 gone. Peyton, who had a brilliant game by all accounts at this stage, dropping deeper, slipped the ball through to Malcolm, who ran through and dunked dinks the ball over the East House's keeper, and a couple of minutes after that, Sean Winter cuts back unselfishly, the ball across, actually deceived the keeper and went straight in. So I say unselfishly, he definitely acclaimed the goal for himself, let's be honest. We know what Sean's like, but 6-2. At one point it was looking a wee bit concerning for them, especially after such a fast start. I think they'll just be happy to get that one in the books and get a win, and kind of forget about the previous game, to be honest. So Kilby Mark, Sean.
I did actually say on last week's pod, I think there would have been a reaction to the defeat last week to the Caledonian Braves. It's good to see Sean Winter, his name come up obviously during the game, because I don't think he was too happy last week getting subbed off quite early. Expected, but certainly the first half, East Houses, in fairness to them, gave East Kilbride a game, but they were always going to be, I think, too strong for East Houses, and I think they certainly proved that over the 90 minutes.
I think the biggie here is the goals, and yeah, a bit worrying in the first half there, but the second half they've came out and it's not just Malcolm that's finding the back of the net. It's a lot of good team play, which is what they're quite well known for. But to see some other names on not only the score sheet but the assist sheet, if you like, it's something that I think they definitely needed, and it gives them a wee bit of something to build on, because these kind of games are the games that the players are going to get to know what makes each other tick, and they've done exactly what we said about Seville. It's a game we expect them to win, and they've gone out and done just that. But I think you said it, Chris, it was a really important game for them. They needed a bit of pick-me-up after last week's result.
On to the University of Stirling versus Blackburn United. University of Stirling won 2-1 at Forthbank Stadium. 29 minutes gone, it was Baird who flicks on to Matty Burrows, who lifts it over the keeper. Matty Burrows was a guy that impressed us at right back last season, Derek, but he was apparently playing up front, which obviously seemed to work out for Chris and the boys there. Half time, 1-0. Uni fairly comfortable at that point. 56 minutes played. The University of Stirling 1, Blackburn United 1. It was McQuillan that got the equaliser for Blackburn. It wasn't until the 81st minute that Callum Heath gets on the long ball. Looked like he had lost it, but he gets up and fires home to give University of Stirling the lead. Uni in control for most of it, but Blackburn had their chances. We do have an interview with the gaffer, Chris Geddes.
Difficult game, a good team, Blackburn, strong, some really good players. We obviously made 5-6 changes it was from last weekend's game, so an opportunity for players to get some minutes. First half it probably showed, we weren't really at it, some slack passes, sloppy stuff. We got a really good goal. We tried Matty Burrows up front and he got in the end of a flick from Ewan and he lobbed the goalie with a great finish. He's a defender, so that kind of worked for us, so it was good in that sense, but a lot to work on. Second half we had a wee go at them at half time, and then they came out second half. It was a bit better. Blackburn brought their big striker on up front. He's a big handful. He got his goal, really good finish for the boy. Got Craig Young in the middle. I used to play with Craig. He's an excellent player, spraying balls about, but I think we thoroughly deserved the winner. It was a good diagonal for JJ. Callum Heath took a great touch, and then he's kind of won it in the box, and then he's toe poked it by the goalie, and then even after that we've had 2 or 3 chances just to kill it. I think we deserved. I'm not saying we think we did. We deserved to win. We were a better team, but it was a tough physical game that could have went another way if we didn't get the goals at the right times. It was a difficult performance from us today in terms of we didn't get everything we wanted, but ultimately we won, and we're into the second round where we play Bonnyrigg, which is going to be a really difficult game, top Lowland League side. So it's an exciting couple of months ahead.
We obviously want to thank David Chandler and Chris Geddes for the interview there. Pretty not a straightforward game for University of Stirling, but it did seem like they probably deserved the win. We noted Blackburn, how quite impressed with them as a community club and stuff, but certainly not straightforward for Stirling Uni from the sounds of things.
Yeah, I don't think we expected it to be. Quite a lot of what we said previously was that Blackburn will give them a test, and so it proved, but ultimately Uni have done the job. A potential banana skin navigated. That kind of goal in the last 10 minutes, absolutely key towards it. Their issue over the last kind of year or so has been games that they've controlled but they've only drawn. So it's a really good sign for them that here's another game they've been in control of for kind of large parts and have done the business to get the win in the end. They've kept going and it's been in the last 10 minutes, so it's that never say die attitudes came through. and it's worked. So just got to give them credit, I think. And ultimately, Blackburn have shown up well, and that's a good sign for them. Kind of acquitting themselves against a Lowland side and having no shame in the way it's came out.
They've had some decent wins this year. University, Stirling. This game looks like it was a little bit closer, and yeah, like you touched upon, they've done what they needed to do to get the win. To whether it is only by a goal or if they're winning comfortably and getting a few goals in there. Ultimately, it's about getting the win. And yeah, they've gone out and done that. And yeah, like you both said, credit to Blackburn United because they've came out and they were away from home and playing against a higher up opposition, and they've took it pretty close to the wire here. And they had their chances quite easily. Could have, a wee bit of luck, and they could have quite easily stole or even took it to extra time here. So credit where credit's due. In the 2008, they welcomed Socky pretty early on. That David Renyard, after 15 minutes, was able to find the back of the net before Craig Donaldson levelled 7 minutes later. Ryan Rogers on the 41st minute meant that we went into half time 2-1, probably a little bit closer than Gretna would have liked it. In the 73rd minute, Ryan Rogers got on the score sheet again to make it 3-1 to Gretna. A stoppage time penalty for Socky Juniors did make it a little bit close towards the end, but ultimately the game finished 3-2. Similar to what we've said a couple of times through, it's a win that was kind of needed. Not had the greatest of starts in their league campaign. This is a win that they needed to lift their heads. They came pretty close with Socky to perhaps taking this to extra time or even in stealing the win, but this was one of the games that when we discussed it, I think we kind of marked this as the game that was potentially going to be a bit closer than some of the others. Despite the difference in the two leagues, Gretna are still finding their way quite early on in the season, and Socky, they've not had the greatest start themselves either. But Chris Humphreys is going to be fairly chuffed to have picked up a win here, and they'll be looking to build on that and hopefully get their first points in the league.
Yeah, obviously very important in terms of Chris Humphreys' first competitive win as Gretna manager. From what I've heard, Ryan Rogers, obviously on his debut, scoring a brace. A lot of the Gretna fans were really happy with his performance. We've got to give a wee shout out to Jake Smith. I heard he did get an injury, and hopefully he's going to be okay, and wish him well on the recovery. But in terms of the result, it was close, as you mentioned, Sean, but I think the most important thing, especially in the Cup or in the league, is the win, and Gretna pulled it off. So congratulations to Chris and the lads there. Gretna fans, I think they were overall happy with the performance.
I can't really add in to what you two have said there. The fact that that's Gretna's first win under Chris Humphreys, he'll take that and hopefully run with it. Again, it's a tough fixture to get drawn. Socky, despite not having a great start themselves to the campaign, are still very capable on their day. So I think the main kind of plus point for Gretna will be the fact that Ryan Rogers has came in and get 2 goals. And ultimately, if you've got a goal scorer, you've always got a chance. So he's bedded right in, fitted into the way they're playing. Hopefully, as you say, Jake Smith's not too hurt, because he's again an important player for them. But yeah, we'll see how that translates to league business. Fingers crossed that'll kind of help them kick on.
Right, into the last fixture of the Football Nations qualifying cup. Probably more shocking than the fact that Kyle Fee scored a free kick. Probably more shocking than the fact that Berwick beat Spartans for me as well. Gala Ferradine Rovers got beat by Tranent 6-0 at the Netherdale. I think the majority of us gave us the advantage to Gala, especially at home, but Tranent obviously I think they ran riot. 32 minutes in, Sean Hill opened the scoring for Tranent. Stephen McDonald just before half time, and it was 2-0 at half time. Stephen McDonald just straight into the second half basically got a brace, and on the 57th minute got his hat trick. Jamie Devlin made it 5 in the 75th minute, and just at the death, Bradley Barrett made it 6-0. Bit of a surprising result. I mean, we're quite used to seeing sort of cup upsets, but that's got to be a sore one for Gala. We mentioned it a lot, obviously, especially pre-season and a lot last season, Derek, but we really rated Stephen McDonald, formerly of Spartans, and he's shown he can certainly play a level above, and Trinent are doing quite well in East of Scotland too, so they could be a danger for Lowland League teams in the Football Nation qualifying cup, as well as other cup competitions this season by the looks of things.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was mentioning about Spartans earlier, it's clear how much they've missed McDonald, in my opinion. He's just such a presence up front, but he's not just your old school big kind of target man. He's got so much more to his game. But he's obviously had a great time of things there. He's enjoyed himself, scored a hat-trick. It's one of the things we'll need to keep an eye on as time goes on, that the East of Scotland Premier League is very much competing for the same kind of players as Lowland now, in many cases. And the teams coming up for the East of Scotland, Bonnyrigg have shown it this year, Kelty previously, are going to be fitting into this league very, very comfortably and pushing towards the top end in most kind of cases. So don't be surprised to see more results like this cropping up in the cups every so often. I suppose most people already expect that here and there, but it's certainly an eye-opener given that Gallup had a reasonably solid start given their kind of outlooks in pre-season. So I think it'll just be one that they want to forget about and get back to league business, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a shock, I think, for us all to have seen this result. But you hit the nail on the head with your point about how strong that East of Scotland Premier League is going to be. Yeah, it's great to see Stephen McDonald. It's always good when you see players, whatever league they're playing in, but do well after they've left the Lowland League. He was one that was, he was rotated a lot at Spartans, so I don't believe he ever really got a proper stab at it. He's getting that at Trinent, and he's showing just what he can do, and he's done it against a very capable Gala side there. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see who Trinent pull out of the hat in the third round, because that's going to be quite an interesting tie after that result.
So into next weekend's fixtures, we'll start with Friday night. We obviously alluded to it earlier, Cumbernauld Colts versus Bonnyrigg Rose at Broadwood Stadium. Haven't seen Cumbernauld Colts, obviously, just this weekend past. I'm not going to call too much. I think it'll be a tough game for them. The reason being is because we know how good Bonnyrigg have been with free kicks, especially Lee Curry. They did give a lot of free kicks away to Kelty. Obviously, Scotty Linton, Thomas Riley hitting the bar and whatnot. I think that could be a danger to them, but certainly two battling teams. I think if they play like they did against Kelty, I think they've got a chance, certainly. I think it's going to be a very, very close game, but I would be wary of the free kick situation, and I think it might be another one where it's going to be a bit of a battle. I've not obviously seen Bonnyrigg Rose so far this season, but certainly from a Colts point of view, I think it's going to be interesting. Yeah, certainly at Broadwood Stadium also.
I think it's going to be, well, I said on Twitter yesterday, it's definitely my game of the week, just purely for the fact that it's the two undefeated sides facing off, and it's going to tell us a lot about them, I think. I'm going to do my best to get along to it, and I would encourage anyone that's at a loose end of Friday night to do so as well, because, well, it's the two form sides in the league, ultimately, so it should be a cracker, fingers crossed.
Arnold should maybe get the nod in this one. They've already taken down BSC and Kelty Hearts at home. Marty Wright, Stephen O'Neill, Fraser team, they've looked deadly so far this season. Even travelling to Stirling Uni, they were able to put 4 away. They just weren't strong enough on their day at the back against a really good University Stirling side. Do you know what? I'm probably going to get some comment on Twitter or Facebook about egg on my face if Bonnyrigg win it, but I think Cumbernauld should be favourites in this one. I think they're going to win quite comfortably, to be honest, but I won't be shocked if Bonnyrigg win, but I think this is Cumbernaud's match.
I've just realised I didn't actually give a prediction there as well. I've kind of dodged it, so I'll go for a draw.
Civil Service Strollers versus Gallifreydine Rovers, a team that won 6-0 versus a team that lost 6-0 in the Cup. I've got to give it to Strollers, especially at Christy Gillis Park. I think they've got to be favourites. They'll be buzzing after that 6-0 win in the Cup. And Gala, they're going to have to pick themselves up now. It's going to be a tough away day for them, but I think Strollers should win this. But you never know, Gala in the League Cup loss obviously lets them sort of focus in the league a wee bit more this season also. So tough one to call, but I'd probably go with Strollers.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm not quite going to go and predict a Kyle Fee hat-trick at this point, but I think purely based on recent form and the fact that Christy Gillis is a long old journey for Gala and it's a bit of a fortress just now for Civil, I'd give a strong preference towards the Strollers at home in that one.
Yeah, I'd say it's a full house for backing Strollers in this one.
Dalbeattie Star versus Edinburgh University at Islecroft Stadium. It's kind of the end of their tough run of the opening few league fixtures that they've had. They're up against a team that I probably would assume that they're going to be sort of near in the league. I want to go with Dalbeattie Star to get their first win of the season at home at Islecroft against Edinburgh Uni.
They're watching Edinburgh Uni. If they can get a goal in this one or two, I think they're going to win this one. They did look really strong at the back. You know, when you look at Dalbeattie, you look at the individual players, I think they've got some really good guys in there, but I've yet to see it yet. They've been against tough opposition though, so I'm probably being a bit harsh, but I'm going to give the edge to Edinburgh Uni.
And I'm delighted because that's what I thought you were going to say, because I'm going to sit on the fence again and say a draw. Yeah, I think the way Uni have played, you need to give them the respect. Dalbeattie will be delighted to get home and get a game that they'll see as a winnable fixture. I just can't really call anything between the teams, so I think a draw would be what I'd initially expect for these two.
East Stirlingshire versus East Kilbride. That's why Commonwealth Colts Bonnyriggs not so obvious. Another massive game. Shire, back in action. Obviously not being involved in the cup. At Falkirk Stadium, I can't call this, guys. It's too tough. I did see Dell at the weekend. He was scouting the Cumbernauld game. So, it's too tough. I don't know. I really don't know. I think there's a wee bit of pressure. I just can't call it, to be honest. Who's going to win this?
It'll be interesting to see how the poll goes, but I still think that Colts Bonnyrigg game is the game of the week. This one's really interesting, but for a totally different reason. You'd expect when these two came head to head that this would be the battle of the unbeatens. 4 or 5 games in, you'd expect that these two would be looking to keep on an undefeated run. So for that standpoint, it's a really interesting, because more so than they both need a win, they both can't really afford to drop another 3 points. I think East Stirlingshire at home are going to be too strong. I think they've got the ability to knock in goals, especially for set pieces. I think they're going to be a bit too strong for East Kilbride, but East Kilbride are coming off that nice comfy win that they had there, that if we can build off of that, they could do something here. But I'm going to go for Shire.
It's interesting how many weird kind of different opinions we've got here, because I think I'm going to be a slight preference towards Kilby in this one. I just think with the experience they've got in the squad that know each other, East Stirlingshire are still feeling each other out. And as you say, they've got a great threat for set pieces now. I just fancy Kilby to go and bounce back league-wise, and these are the kind of games that over the last couple of years we've built up saying there might be a banana skin here, they might struggle, and they've gone and they've won it 1-0, 2-0. So I'm going to stick behind Malky's guys and say they're going to win that one.
Caledonian Braves versus University of Stirling at Alliance Park. Given the fact that Caledonian Braves got beat quite heavily by BSC, I wouldn't say obviously Stirling Uni are off that calibre in terms of experience and stuff, but I'm going to give the edge to Stirling Uni actually. I don't know so much obviously, because I don't know who's, and we obviously know Alan Reid's injured and they're missing key players. If that's the case at the weekend, I think University of Stirling, Matty Burrows up front, and I think an obvious hat-trick, I think. So Stirling Uni for me.
I would strongly suspect that they'll have a new centre-back in place by the time that game comes. And I don't think it's going to be El Zabadi, to be honest. So getting hooked at half-time as a trialist is never a good sign, I suspect. But yeah, I still think Cali Braves are a very decent side. They were just particularly weak in one of the key areas of the pitch against us. I'm going to stick with Cali, I think, to bounce back in that one, assuming they've got their defence sorted out ready for that. And a week of preparation and learning for last week. Ricky's a decent gaffer in terms of preparing these sides. We saw that the way they played against Kelty, they had a game plan. So I'm going to side with Cali Braves to bounce back in that one, I think.
So if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably going to think that we've staged this so that we look like we're supporting everybody, because I think I'm going to go for a draw. I can see both of these sides scoring. I think it's going to be a score draw as well, a few goals, you know, a 3-3 or a 4-4. I think both of these teams are going to knock in a few goals in this one, and I can't quite give the edge to either side.
At least one of us has to be right for most of these games.
Absolutely.
Spartans versus Gretna 2008. Obviously Spartans coming off that cup exit to Berwick Rangers. They obviously are missing a few players. I think Dean Hoskins will be suspended for this, and he's obviously been, we mentioned it on the last week's pod, but he's been a bit of a key player for them. Gretna obviously coming off their first competitive win. I always go Spartans at Ainsley Park, and I think I'm going to go with Spartans again to bounce back from that defeat against Berwick.
I think this ends Ronnie is picking all the different results, because I'm going Spartans as well, and I'm pretty confident in this one.
Yeah, I think, do you know what, if there was ever a time for Gretna to go to Ainsley Park, it's now, because the Spartans they're suffering a little bit, and Gretna are coming off that first competitive win for Chris Humphreys. But yeah, it's Spartans, it's at Ainsley Park. It's got to be a Spartans win, you would think.
Vale Leaving versus Kelty Hearts at Victoria Park. This will be my first visit to Victoria Park, actually. I'm planning on heading down next Saturday. I have seen Vale Leaving, obviously, previously, and I did watch the game at New Central Park last season where they sort of sat in. I think games have been fairly close with these sides. I think it's the way Vale, obviously, and Ando approached the game against Kelty Hearts, which is fair for one of the bottom sides to do that. And I think if they can do that against Kelty, I think it's going to be a tough game. But Kelty losing to Cumbernauld, I'm sure Barry will have the boys up for this one, and I'm definitely, depending on how it goes, I think it's probably going to be a comfortable win for Kelty.
I'd agree with that. I think Kelty, to get a few goals there and bounce back, it doesn't get any easier for Vale Leaving just now. They're kind of looking at games coming up, kind of try to work out where the first 3 points are coming for. I don't think it's going to be this weekend.
No, this fixture last season, I was lucky enough to go down to Victoria Park, and it's if you get the weather, it's a really nice place to go. I'm sure you'll enjoy it, Chris. I don't think Vale will, though. I think they're going to be on the wrong side of an angry sort of Kelty side after, you know, losing. You can just tell they're a team that's built to really, really not like getting beat. And yeah, Vale are just unfortunate that they're the side that are coming up against Kelty the week after their first loss. So yeah, 3 for Kelty, I think.
Berwick Rangers versus Newton Grange Star. This is in the South Challenge Cup at Shielfield Park again. I'm going to go with 2 wins in a row for Berwick Rangers. I saw a wee bit of Newton Grange Star. We obviously saw them pre-season, Sean, and we obviously saw a lot of the under-20s last season as well. I just think Berwick will get another home win, I think.
I think this is a perfect tie for them to follow up with, because given it's another cup tie, if they win it again, there's your momentum built up. If they lose it, Ian Little can basically say that's not where our focus is. Get back to league business. So I think he'll be delighted to be playing Newton Star, who, let's be honest, are a decent side. They'll give him a challenge, but I do fancy Berwick to follow up with another win.
Yeah, I think it'll be a much needed win for Berwick. Newton Grange Star, I think they are a decent side. And do you know what? If you were to reverse it and the game was a travelling game for Berwick Rangers, I think it would be a bit tougher. I'd probably still give the edge to Berwick, but the fact that they're at home and it's Newton Grange that are making that trip, they're coming off the back of a comfortable win. I think it will be 2 in a row, and I think it's much needed at this point, I think.
Yeah, we'll get into plugs. Derek, you'll go first as always.
And I'll keep it nice and simple as always. At Moza Plays on Twitter. You'll find me anywhere else through that.
For myself, you can find me on Twitter at Sped and Sean, and on Facebook I'll take care of the Lowland League Catchup, and you can find us just under that title.
At Rampant FM on Twitter, and you can find the Catchup at Official Catchup, and on YouTube as well. You can find us, as well as obviously the likes of iTunes and SoundCloud. I want to thank everyone for their support. Obviously the interviews is great. We'll probably be doing a lot more, during the season. Thanks for the league for their support, people like George Fraser, and obviously keep the questions coming in. We're happy enough to answer a few questions and give our opinions on how teams are doing and how we see the league panning out over the years and stuff like that. So we appreciate all the support. We'll see you next week.
See you later.
Catch you later.